Thank you for choosing to view this Early Years Engage webinar on the 2018 Child Care Survey. This information was presented at the May 31st, 2018 ELCC Forum. My name is Ryan Maharaj, and I'm a Social Planning Associate at the Region of Waterloo Children's Services. During this webinar, we will be sharing details on the system and program level findings for the 2018 Child Care Survey. We're going to look at what the respondents told us at the system, organization, and program levels, and discuss the ways that the results can be used to help us plan for and improve our childcare system. We'll then discuss the results reports that each program will use to share the results with their families, including a follow-up activity that will help us get started. As a reminder, the survey was made available to parents and guardians with children aged 0 to 4 years, enrolled in licensed childcare in Waterloo Region. Overall, we received 1,880 responses, which is a fantastic level of participation, representing 34% of families in licensed childcare. After cleaning the results and calculating the final participation rates, we were thrilled to offer the pizza lunches to the 3 sites with the highest participation rates and museum passes to 10 randomly selected participants. If you'll recall, roughly half of the 2018 Childcare Survey focused on program-level questions, and the other half was devoted to system-level topics including affordability and fee subsidy, accessibility and one list, and special needs resourcing. As many of you know through our recent expansion planning, increasing the access to and affordability of licensed childcare in Waterloo Region is a priority for 2018. The results of the survey show a confirmation of these needs by respondents. When asked the question, what is the primary thing you would change about the childcare experience in Waterloo Region, 40% answered cost and 25% answered more licensed spaces available. We asked respondents to provide more information around the affordability of childcare. When asked, what do you consider to be a reasonable and affordable childcare fee for your family, the most common single answer was, the current fee is reasonable and affordable, which does make sense when you consider the fact that 53% of respondents have a household income of over $95,000 and 12% access partial or full subsidy. However, when we combine the responses that recommend a reduction in fees, we see that 55% of respondents indicated that fees should be reduced by at least $100 a month, averaging in the $200 per month range. This was consistent in comparable questions throughout the survey. Most notable, 50% of the respondents agreed that the statement, the cost of childcare is a significant financial stress to their family. When we look at the questions on fee subsidy, a large number of respondents agreed that the turnaround time for the process is reasonable. On the other hand, there was a relatively large number of respondents who disagreed with the statement, the process for applying for fee subsidy was easy to understand, indicating a need to improve clarity of the process. These findings are timely as the region is preparing the licensed childcare communication and media campaign, starting with fee subsidy, designed to increase education and awareness of programs and services available. When asked about access to childcare, a high number of respondents agreed that they have a childcare space with their preferred provider. In contrast, many respondents expressed challenges in the initial application process. In fact, these were the lowest scores across the entire survey. We also asked respondents about their experiences with special needs resourcing. As you can see, the majority of respondents' children have not received special needs supports. For those who have received supports, however, we asked whether they were received at the right time, and 85% agreed that they were. This speaks highly to the responsiveness of programs. Further, while 34% of respondents identified that they are aware of at least one form of special needs supports in childcare, 55% expressed that they are not aware of any supports. In the comment-based feedback, however, many respondents wrote that their child does not require additional supports, but that if they did, they would be confident that the program would be able to coordinate the process. The results from the Child Care Survey provide us as a system with the foundation to improve future planning. In this short presentation, we've already seen that the results support our expansion funding initiatives, such as the Parent Fee Reduction Pilot, the One List Staff Coordinator, the Licensed Childcare Communication and Media Campaign, and Special Needs Resourcing. In addition, the results, along with the consultations and further research, will serve as a foundation to inform the new system plan. The tangible feedback in the Child Care Survey, particularly in the comments section, will help us meet our requirements for measurable goals. It will also help inform Early Years Engage as part of the program. The results are part of an annual planning template and play a role in planning for improving quality childcare across the system. Lastly, by cycling the survey, we will be able to start to identify trends in our community and set benchmarks to gauge improvement. That being said, there is still a fair amount of room for planning before we determine an appropriate cycle will occur. Once we've had a chance to work with all of the results in the coming months, we can then begin to discuss what makes sense as a second cycle. We will give a follow-up at the September forum to talk more about that process. Now it makes sense to shift gears to the part you've been waiting for, the program results. If you'd like to know more about the system-level results, we will be providing a report to Regional Council later this summer that will include a fulsome overview of system findings. Otherwise, feel free to reach out to Debbie Jones with any questions. We figured that the most tangible way to share the process that we took to prepare the reports would be to walk through the documents together, section by section. If you'd each like to pull out your program reports, we can go through page by page. Each program was provided with a package that included customized program reports to include only responses from the families enrolled in your program. That being said, we wanted to share the data in as many ways as possible. In each report, you will find two types of scoring for multiple choice questions. The percentage breakdowns show the percentage of positive, neutral, negative, and don't know responses, which combine to equal 100%. The total scores, on the other hand, are a calculation that shows how strongly participants as a whole agreed with each statement, with a maximum score of 100%. Further details on the calculation are included in your program reports. The example on screen shows an intentional discrepancy between the percentage breakdown scores and the total scores. This is because the total scores are weighted and because they don't include the don't know responses. That being said, don't forget about the don't know responses because they actually tell you quite a bit about how well families understood the particular question. In addition, to protect participant confidentiality and to avoid sharing invalid results, we could not provide percentage breakdowns and program level scores to programs with fewer than 10 participants. All sites, however, received system level scores and de-identified comments for their programs. This means that even though you did not receive individual program scores, you can still see how we did as a system to identify ways to improve. As a system, we received over 7,000 program-level comments and 3,000 system-level comments. In preparation of the reports, we de-identified each of the program-level comments, retaining as much intent and information as possible, while removing or altering anything that could identify the respondent. Then, some of the comments were generalized, where highly contextual comments were whittled down to retain the intent. An example would be, "They gave me parenting materials when I needed them during my divorce," which would change to, "They gave me parenting materials when I needed them." All the program reports only include comments from respondents who consented to using their comments in reports, newsletters, and published documents. When we were dealing with so many questions and such a large volume of comments, we needed a way to organize the reports in a cohesive and digestible way. We decided to organize the report around the Ministry of Education's How Does Learning Happen to allow for deeper analysis. We categorized each multiple choice question under one of the 4 foundations for learning or under general satisfaction based on best fit. That being said, the scores do not measure how well your program uses How Does Learning Happen, but instead provide insights for planning and development. You could look at each of the scores for the questions individually to try and determine what caused a lower score, but you could also refer to How Does Learning Happen for tangible strategies to improve and maintain levels of service. An example of this is up on the screen, and specific page numbers are included in the report. But because we rearranged the survey questions around how does learning happen, there is a bit of difficulty maintaining links to the original survey. If you'll recall, the survey was broken into sections. At the end of each section was a concluding comment which allowed respondents to provide final comments. Because the report was organized around how does learning happen, we needed to reorder this. To ensure that you can still see how the comments refer to the multiple choice questions, we provided reference numbers for more information. For example, if you look at the screen, questions 1 through 5 and 8 through 11 are referred to in that section. Also, feel free to look for a blank copy of the original survey on the operator's portal so you can see the original order of questions. There are many ways to use the results. For example, the results can be interpreted by comparing the system-wide total. For comment-based questions, these system totals reflect the combined scores of over 1,700 respondents and 92 programs. They are a compilation of a massive amount of data and are a strong reflection of the system's average. It is less so reflective for home-based programs as it includes fewer responses and only 2 programs. The results can also be interpreted by reflecting on each question and seeing whether it makes sense for your unique program. Perhaps you got a high score for a question on communication to parents, and months prior you launched a communications initiative. Anecdotal interpretation can make sense. You can also interpret the results by comparing scores across questions. For example, if all of your scores are in the 80s and one is in the 70s, that may be an area to focus on. And finally, you compare your scores to how does learning happen for concrete ways to demonstrate the foundations. It's also important to remember that the scores are based on families' perceptions and can be interpreted in many ways. For example, if you got a low score for the question, "The educators respond to my child's individual needs," it could mean that there are opportunities to develop responsiveness to child needs or become more effective at communicating with families. Because the survey is part of Early Years Engage, the region and you as operator share a dual responsibility for maintaining the confidentiality and anonymity of results. As I discussed earlier, we took all reasonable efforts to remove and alter identifying information, but it is a subjective process. Identifiers may have been missed, and you know a lot more about your families, so be sure to remove contextual elements before sharing. Also, if the identity of a participant becomes known, you are expected to maintain confidentiality and ensure there are no impacts felt by the participant or their children, be it positive or negative, for having participated in the survey. Also, please remember that the program reports are considered confidential. They cannot be shared with parents, particularly any of the system-wide scores. Alternatively, they can be shared with staff provided confidentiality is explained. One of the most important yet commonly overlooked aspect of the survey cycle is in sharing results back with the respondents. To ensure that consistent and meaningful results are shared with families throughout Waterloo Region, we have created a results template which you have been filling out over the past weeks. You'll notice that the first 2 pages of the document provide high-level summary of system-level results. This provides a snapshot of some of the most interesting results across the system. The second 2 pages are for you to customize for your families based on your reports. We are getting close to the deadline here, being July 20th, but make sure you connect with Debbie to finalize your reports. You'll want to use your feedback to develop one or more tangible, directly related action that you can take in 2018 to enhance or improve services based on the feedback of parents. This will align directly to goal number 4 in your Early Years Engage annual planning template. Should you have any further questions, please feel free to reach out to Debbie Jones or to Caitlin Osborne for more information. Again, thank you for your participation and attention, and have a great day.